Hey everybody, this is Karen Dudek-Brannan, and this is for you if you have ever struggled with perfectionism. So if you find yourself repeatedly saying, I just need to think about it, or if you've ever had a hard time moving forward with anything, dissertation or related activities. What often seems like a good and responsible thing to do in this situation, or with any type of big decision that we have to make, is to say, I'm going to think it over, or I'm going to do some research. And while on the surface that can seem like the good thing to do, doing this too much can actually be detrimental to your success, especially when you have a large task in front of you, like a thesis or a dissertation. So I am going to give you an example of why this feeling of perfectionism and needing to think about it can actually be a bad thing and can actually hold you back. And I'm going to go into an example of something from my own life to show you what I mean. So here's what happened. A while back, a friend of mine wanted to start training for a road race, but he wasn't sure what distance he wanted to run. So he thought about doing a 10K, but then he thought maybe he should do something longer, like a marathon. But then he remembered that he's a pretty good cyclist, so he started thinking about doing a triathlon. And this went on for a couple weeks. And for those of you not familiar with endurance sports, you can actually accomplish quite a few hurdles from a training standpoint in just a few weeks. So you can also do a fair amount of planning and build some solid routines to set you up for success in just a short period of time when it comes to training. So for example, you can set up a schedule so that you know that you can get your training in, or you can get your nutrition figured out, or you can map out any of your plans for race day logistics and things like that. You can establish a training outline or get in touch with someone to coach you. You can get a lot done. But this wasn't happening for my friend because he was still thinking about it. And in the interim, when he was contemplating what to do and doing research and hemming and hawing, he'd actually missed out on a ton of quality training time while he was considering what to actually do. And so instead of committing to a goal, he was just messing around, getting nothing done. So for the 10 millionth time, when he asked me what race he should do, I finally just came out and said, just make a damn decision already, because he was missing opportunities left and right while he wasted time. And I just was getting sick of watching it. So we can actually apply this same principle to any other large task that we're going to have to do in our lives. So for those of us tackling a massive challenge that's right in front of us, that feeling of indecision can hold us back from moving forward. And a lot of times we do this because we're afraid of making the wrong decision. And as we carefully consider our choices, that gives us this false sense of security and makes us feel safer and more comfortable. So in that act of deciding not to decide, we actually drain a lot of our much needed cognitive resources to actually move us closer to our goal. And the thing is that those are resources you can't afford to waste if you're in a doctoral program or in some type of a graduate degree program where you have to do a thesis or a dissertation. The problem is that one of the biggest sources of this fear and indecisiveness is fully committing to something and knowing that something might go wrong. So whether that ends up being fearing that you've picked the wrong topic, or fearing that your study won't be good enough, or that you won't answer your burning questions, or that you're going to write a draft and it's not going to be good and you're not going to go in the direction that you were supposed to and you're going to have to do it again, or deciding if you want to invest in a coach and is this the right thing? Should I be investing in this, or should I be just going through with trial and error on my own and continuing to struggle? So any of those things, the problem is that the longer you delay your decision to move forward, the longer you can avoid dealing with any of those problems. But those problems are necessary, and those decisions are necessary to move you forward. The longer that you hem and you haw, the more unfinished projects you have, and the less likely you are to actually finish. In your case, if you're in a doctoral program, the less likely that you were able to finish that one project standing in the way of really pursuing your dream career, which of course is that dissertation. So we can say the same thing about asking for help. I know that during my dissertation, I waited way too long to pursue help outside my committee. But when I finally did, that weight was lifted. So at this point, if you're struggling anywhere in this process, something to ask yourself is there a decision relating to your dissertation that you've been thinking about for way too long? And could this be something that you're doing in order to avoid something uncomfortable, but something that may be necessary in order for you to get to the finish line? Whether that be making the decision to seek help, whether that be finally nailing down a topic, or sitting down to commit some time to making a draft and committing to a regular writing time each week. So in what areas of your life could you be more decisive? Because anyone who's ever dealt with procrastination knows that they're wasting a lot of time. They know that they're putting off certain things until the last minute, and they know that that isn't going to get them to their end goal. They know that spending hours watching TV or searching the internet is not a good use of time, or whatever other activities that they use to hide in busyness or to delay whatever it is that they have to be doing. They know they should be getting something done instead of staring at a blank page and then instead clicking away and checking their email for the 100th time of the day. So if this is the case, people understand that they are having some perfectionist qualities, or they know that they are procrastinating. Why do so many people do it? Why do so many people know what they could or should be doing but choose to do something else? Well, there's a couple reasons that this could be coming about. The good news is that this is a completely normal human tendency. The bad news is that it can waste hours of your time and thousands of dollars. People who are successful learn how to work through this instead of succumbing to it. But if you do succumb to it, it can cost you tons of things in your life, like your health, your relationships, your degrees, your dream job, any of those things that may suffer if you have your dissertation hanging over your head and you're not finishing. So the people who are able to avoid those temptations of immediate gratification and focus on their end goal, it's oftentimes because they're doing several key things that others aren't. So I wanted to share a little bit about what those things are. So number one, they are 100% clear on their why. Why are they doing this task? What is the end goal? And then number two, they do what's called future pacing, which allows them to face the reality of their current situation. So I'm going to dive into what those two things are so that you can figure out how you can use them to nip procrastination in the bud before it gets too out of control. So let's talk about focusing on the why before the what. So number one, people who are successful are clear on their why. In his best-selling book, Start With Why, Simon Sinek talked about how what to do is not enough to keep people motivated. So just giving someone a to-do list is not enough. Instead, people need to have something deeper and more meaningful that they're working towards. They need to know the mission and the purpose that inspires them to do those actions. Otherwise, it feels like meaningless busy work and it doesn't get done. Or if it somehow does get done, it's done in a haphazard, half-ass way because there's no purpose behind it. People who are able to push through adversity are motivated by their why because they know what it is. They know what's in store for them if they see it through to the end. But of course, it's not just important to define our why one time and then never think of it again. Those who succeed with getting to the end of these huge tasks usually have daily habits that help them keep their eye on their end goal over and over again. So when you get in the trenches of a difficult project, the weight of the work can outweigh the desire for the why, unless you give yourself constant reminders of what that why is that makes it extremely vivid. So this could mean understanding what this end goal would do for their family, their personal life, their professional life, and their career. Understanding what they would be able to do once it's accomplished, and what isn't possible if their situation stays the same and they continue to procrastinate. or understanding exactly what it would feel like to wake up each morning and have that goal already been achieved. And they never lose sight of it. They never lose sight of that feeling. And because of that, they're able to push through the adversity. But of course, understanding the end goal isn't enough. There's something else that successful people are able to do in order to help themselves push through this feeling of procrastination. And it's called future pacing. What you're doing when you're future pacing is looking into your crystal ball and predicting what the future will be based on the current behaviors that you're doing. So if you find that the behaviors you're currently taking are not going to get you to the why, then you simply course correct. So that means that you can say, based on what I'm doing right now and the actions I'm taking in the moment, where am I going? What's going to happen if I keep doing what I'm currently doing? And is it what I want? And if you find that it's not what you want, you change it so that you do get what you want. Successful people are able to do this. The challenge many of us have is that although we may know we're making poor choices in the current moment, we're not stopping to contemplate what it means for us long term. So we get that immediate gratification, and those things that may be really terrible consequences, because they're not immediate, they don't seem that urgent and important. They're not real to us yet. Even though many of us know on the surface that they're there, we just don't take the time to sit with the reality of what could happen in the future because it's uncomfortable and unpleasant. Like for your doctorate, you might not feel like writing in the current moment, but it's taking the time to contemplate, if I don't keep writing, will I ever graduate? And what's that going to be like in 10 years when I realize that I threw all of this time and money away and gave up on my dream, and I have all of this regret because I got so close to finishing, yet I couldn't get to the end. So here's another example of how that might manifest. So let's say that someone wants to quit smoking. Obviously, most people who smoke know it's unhealthy, yet they continue to do it. And that's because knowing it's bad for you just isn't enough, because the pleasure they get from taking a drag off of a cigarette is much more pleasurable than not taking one in the short term. And the long-term consequences of smoking are so far out that even if they know that they exist on the surface, it's easy to bury them deep inside our minds. But if we future pace, we sit with it. We take those consequences from the future and lay them in our lap. For the smoking example, it would be thinking about what it would be like to die young and never see our grandchildren grow up, or to leave our spouse as a widow, struggling to get by without us, or growing old with someone else instead of us, never seeing our children graduate college or get married, never getting to go on that dream vacation or live that retirement plan because you're sick or maybe even dead. So see how that's much more vivid and meaningful than something like, this is bad for me, so I shouldn't be doing it. So what is that procrastination really costing you? If you are struggling to write now, future pace, what is really going to happen if you stay put? Telling yourself, I should write because it's what I'm supposed to be doing, just isn't enough. How about imagining what it will be like if you never finish? And honestly, many people I've asked this question hate to even consider the possibility, and they get uncomfortable when I ask that question. What would it be like to be paying off student loans well into retirement for a degree you don't have? What would it be like to be a disappointment to your family because they sacrificed for your degree, but you didn't make it through? How many hours have you wasted when you could have been writing? And how much money have you left on the table because you can't get the job you want until you finish? How many hours of laying in bed, not being able to fall asleep have you experienced because you have this stressful thing hanging over your head? Sometimes we're so deep in the trenches, we don't even know what questions to ask to help break us through these mental roadblocks. We simply can't see the forest for the trees. The reality of the truth, though, is that it can be hard to swallow, but it can save you from a lifetime of regret. So if you're at the point now where you're totally paralyzed when it comes to working on your dissertation, I'd love to talk through your situation so we can see what's stopping you from moving forward. So what you can do if you are stuck is ask for help. And I am here for you. What I would love to do, if you are at any stage of your dissertation, so you've gotten your proposal figured out and you're in the point where you should be writing, or maybe you've been writing for a while and you're really getting stuck. Maybe you just need to get your results and your discussion written, but you've just really gotten off track and you find yourself procrastinating and not doing the work. What you can do is sign up for a free dissertation breakthrough call with me. How to do that would be to click the link below this video in the comments, and that will take you to a sign-up page. There's a calendar page right there. You'll be able to pick a time where you could talk to me or someone on my team, and we will walk through exactly what's not working. So how the call works is that we walk through what's not working when it comes to your dissertation and figure out exactly what needs to happen to get you to that next level. And then we can talk about next steps from there. All you need to do to sign up for a dissertation breakthrough call is click the link below and grab your 45-minute session, and we can see exactly what you need to get to your goals.